Elevate Life executive leaders, welcome back. If you're watching this, you're probably in the middle of something big, a business pivot, a career leap, a reinvention that's demanding more from you than usual. And you're not alone. In this month's executive experience, we're going deep into 3 key shifts resilient leaders make when everything feels uncertain. And our guest, Vered Kogan, delivers some serious clarity. This is for you if you're navigating complex transitions and you're ready to amputate the old mindset holding you back and elevate to the version of yourself built for what's next. In just a few minutes, you'll walk away with 3 core insights that will help you. Number 1, amputate to elevate. Identify the belief that's been limiting your growth and replace it with one that moves you forward with courage and clarity. Then, number 2, regulate first, respond second. Discover the single skill that keeps great leaders grounded in pressure moments. And then number 3, thoughts are not facts. Learn how to challenge the inner voice that sounds convincing but isn't always telling the truth. These aren't just ideas, they're tools. And if you apply them, you'll see results in how you lead, how you decide, how you live. If you're not already part of our Elevate Life Premium group, this is your invitation. We go deeper each month with live lessons, coaching insights, and high-value resources built specifically for executive navigating high-stakes transitions. And yes, we've got a private WhatsApp group where you can stay connected between sessions, get quick hit prompts, drop in your wins, and tap into this high-performance community when it counts. All right, ready to go further? Click on the link below and upgrade to the premium, join the WhatsApp group, and get inside this month's momentum. Now, let's get into the experience. Which belief are you ready to amputate? Section 1. Isn't it strange how the smallest sentence can have the heaviest weight? I can't do that. Just 5 words, and yet they can sit on our chest like a boulder. We don't always say them out loud. Sometimes they hide in our hesitation, our silence, our delay. But when Vered Kogan said that's what she had to amputate to elevate, I felt the truth in it like a gut punch and a gift. I asked her the question that I ask all my guests in my interviews: what did you have to amputate in order to elevate? And what she said, yeah, she cut straight to it. So let's listen in.
Vered, tell me what it is that you had to amputate in order to elevate to your success.
There have been many beliefs over the years, self-defeating beliefs over the years that I have worked on releasing and transforming. And I think that one of the biggest ones was a belief of I can't do it, or some version of that. It's not available to me. Maybe others can do it, but not me. And I truly believe that I have transformed that. I had an instance this morning where I was speaking to a gentleman who is very successful, and as he was sharing some things, I had some imagination of what might be an even bigger vision for myself, and I just noticed in the moment that I truly believe I can do anything that I choose to do, that the resources will become available. And that is because I have tools to be able to identify and release any resistance that comes up along the way. So I am uh, truly in the flow and creating in the highest and best way. So I would say that's a main belief that has really served me well to transform.
Whew, that's not just a mindset, that's a movement, because amputating the belief that I can't do it isn't just something that we think our way out of. Sometimes it's something that we walk our way through. I've been there. I remember when I was first learning how to walk again after my amputation, my leg hurt. I couldn't even seem to put on a prosthetic right. And that sentence, yeah, I can't do it. It was just looping in my brain. Well, then came running, jumping, trying to reach a Paralympic podium with distances that felt laughable from the start. But the hardest one, it wasn't physical, it was personal. When I was wrong in my relationship with Alice, and I knew it, there were times I didn't believe I could bring myself to say, hey, babe, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I wanted to be right. I wanted to look strong. I wanted to look right. But what I learned is that pain doesn't always show up in our own body. It shows up on the face of someone that you love. And when it does, you're faced with a choice. Sit in your pain or take the action that heals it. So here's the cost of not amputating the I can't belief, especially for executives. It's not just personal doubt, it's cultural drag. It creeps into boardrooms, it slows down initiatives, it kills innovation before it ever sees daylight. And let's get real. If a leader of a company operates from I can't, here's what follows: risk aversion, delayed decision making, talent loss due to vision gaps. It's not theoretical, it's expensive. But the opportunity, that's where it gets good. Because when leaders trade I can't for I will figure it out, everything changes. Decision making sharpens, adaptability kicks in, risk becomes calculated, not avoided. And more often than not, the team rises to meet the new energy. So here's your next move. Take a moment this week and name the thing that you've been silently saying, yeah, I can't do that. Write it down, then flip it. Write it again like this. Yeah, everything is possible if I'm willing to try. Put it on your mirror, your phone wallpaper. Let it challenge you. Let it nudge you towards that next courageous decision. Because belief is the first leg of the race, and I only have one leg left. And if you don't feel ready to run, you can start walking or hopping. Section 2, regulate first, respond second. Ever fire off a decision under duress or stress that you wish you could walk back? Now, not because it was wrong, but because it came from the wrong place. Yeah, that moment right there. That's what Vered Kogan zeroed in on in our conversation on the podcast. Her message was simple, but game-changing. Regulate first, respond second. And if you're leading through high-stakes transition, this one principle can keep you from crashing the mission before you even launch it. She was talking about how leaders navigate pressures with clarity. The key, don't start in your head, start in your nervous system. So let's listen in.
Resentful or whatever it might be. Just labeling. That in and of itself can self-regulate the system, can create kind of a more ease in the amygdala and the inner system. Then the A is for activate the heart. There are many ways to activate the heart. The way that I kind of guided you and the listeners through a few moments ago is called a quick coherence technique. That's from the Institute of Heart Math. I'm a trainer with the Institute of Heart Math. And that first step is just to take some slow, deep breaths in and out of the heart. That allows our body to come back to balance physiologically. And then we activate a positive or regenerative feeling, right? Make a sincere attempt to maybe remember a time we felt good or imagine a time. And that allows us to get different chemicals in our body and change that heart rate variability pattern. That's going up to the thalamus, which controls our cognitive executive functions in our brain. And then the Y in play stands for yield. So what are we yielding to? We're yielding to the wisdom of our heart. There is intuitive guidance that is available to us when we're in coherent state and when we ask for that guidance, when we're in that place of silence, right? That's where the resilience comes from. We're getting new resources. So when I am coherent, I'm, kind of activated these positive regenerative feelings, then I want to ask myself, right? Ask my heart for guidance. What's the next step here for me? What's most important? What do I need to amputate, so to speak? What do I need to let go of? And then the heart will give us that guidance through a synchronicity, an event, maybe through an image, a thought, and we'll get clear on what that is for us. That is the new resource that we need in order to create that shift, because it goes like this, John. It goes old state, right? Kind of like currently where we are, old state, plus new resources equals new, transformed, right? State or life, however we want to look at it. We have to have new resources. These unconscious parts of us need to know that we've learned. We need to increase our consciousness in order to amplify all that we can into our world, our beautiful innate gifts. So the new resources is the name of the game. And when we have those, we build our resilience capacity, right? I'm more resilient when I can think more broadly, when my perceptions, when I've released some attachment on things and I can be more objective, right? That's the resourcefulness, the resilience, right? I can be more flexible when I do that. So that's play.
Yeah, did you hear that line? Come back into a coherent state. Man, that brought me back. I remember being in PLDC, the Primary Leadership Development Course. It's the first non-commissioned officer school in the United States Army. They call it something else now. I can't remember what it is. I was on the verge of a permanent change of station when I was in PLDC, basically a loss to my unit, and working a job that was required for two E4s, two specialists, and I was one of those two specialists. We already had two E5s or sergeants in that space. And the sergeant major of the Army had sent word that soldiers in my position were non-deployable. But I wasn't in the room to speak up for myself when Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm was coming up. So when the decision came down of who was going to get deployed, guess who got the short end of the stick? Moi. I was pulled from PLDC and put on a plane to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and then deployed to Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I didn't even know it was happening. I was crying uncontrollably, trying to explain to my wife if I was going to come back, and to my young son. All those things were hitting me like a gut punch. And when someone mentioned that the Army's World Class Athlete Program would still be waiting for me if I came back, I felt it. That crack in my voice, that tear I didn't expect, that's what stress looks like when it hits home. But here's the shift. Once the decision was made, I had to regulate. I had to come to a reckoning. I had to breathe. I had to refocus because my family saw my vulnerability. And from that moment forward, I led differently. I served differently. I grew. And funny enough, it became one of the greatest opportunities of my life. Did you know that only 10% of those who serve in uniform actually see combat? I became part of that 10% and came back with a deeper understanding of leadership under pressure, not from theory, but from the test of fire. And that's what Vered's talking about in leadership. It doesn't start when you open your mouth, it starts when you still your mind. Here's what it costs leaders when they don't regulate before responding: miscontext in crucial conversations, misfired directives that break trust, burnout from leading on fumes. In high stakes transitions, acquisitions, turnarounds, personal reinventions, stress is not the enemy. Unregulated stress is. But when you regulate first, then you pause, breathe, check your inner compass. You give yourself and your team a shot at clarity, consistency, and connection. Vered calls it coherence. I call it leadership oxygen. So here's the move. Before your next high pressure moment, just pause. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Ask yourself, am I reacting or responding? Do that often enough and you won't just make better decisions, you'll create a culture that knows how to breathe when the building's on fire. And that's leadership your team can trust. Number 3, thoughts are not facts. You ever catch your mind whispering something like it's an absolute truth, only to realize later that it was just fear in a better suit? We've all been there. And if you're leading others, those unexamined thoughts don't just affect you, they echo through your team. That's why this moment from Vered Kogan struck me and struck a deep chord with me. She said it simply: thoughts are not facts. And in today's world, that reminder isn't helpful, it's urgent. Vered unpacks how to separate the stories we tell ourselves from the evidence that's in front of us. And when you realize your thoughts don't have to rule you, you get your power back. So let's listen to what she said.
So what we want to do for anybody who's, wants to create a change in their life, to transition towards something different, and there's some of that doubt or, friction, that inner resistance, is to get really curious. Because typically, if there's a part of us that feels that way, it's because our unconscious mind is trying to protect us. It might not believe at a deeper level that it might be safe for us or that we have the resources to be able to transition safely, and to take good care of ourselves. It's a very protective inner system. And so there's no sabotaging behavior per se. It's very protective behavior. It's almost like a parent trying to say to their kid, like, who wants to experience, let's say, some kind of a trip or something like that, and the parent being afraid of them going away. It's that kind of energy. It's like, I want to protect you, right? And oftentimes, again, those decisions are made out of beliefs that are not current, before we had, resources and wisdom and support and so on. So what I would say is for individuals, when those kinds of thoughts pop up, is to just pause for a moment, maybe just take a breath, label. How are they feeling as they think of that thought? What is the feeling? Oftentimes, it's not a pleasant feeling. It's a feeling of maybe disappointment or sadness, or maybe some worry, anxiety, maybe even some, shame that they're not where they want to be or anything like that. To just tune into the emotion. The moments they're tuning into the emotion, to the vibration, they're kind of like peeking into the room where all these parts are, and they're saying, "Hey, little ones, how are you doing? What do I need to know?" And that already begins a conversation. And then once they kind of label what is the feeling, then what they want to do is to really activate the heart, because the way to dissolve these unconscious patterns is through love. And I don't mean that just in a kind of, poetic way. I mean, in the literal sense, to activate elevated emotions, which then changes the heart rate variability pattern that goes from their heart up the vagal nerve to their head brain, which changes the perception, the story. So we have to change our cardiac rhythm. So the way to do that, John, is to just pause for a moment, breathe slowly and deeply, imagining the breath flowing in and out of the heart, kind of finding an easy, comfortable rhythm that allows us to synchronize our autonomic nervous system, kind of getting the body ready. And then as we focus on the heart, to activate a positive or regenerative feeling, maybe focusing on something or someone that we appreciate, maybe some care, compassion. And what happens there, just in our shifting of the energy, we again change the pattern that goes to our head brain. We create a whole brain state, and our perception of what is possible for us, maybe some ideas about how to take the first action to get there in a safe way, are going to transform, because it's almost metaphysically like we're going into the room with these little parts that are perplexed and confused, or trying to protect us, but they don't quite know how, or they think they know how based on these old patterns that used to work maybe for us years ago, but not quite so much anymore. Going into the room and saying, "All right, little ones, right? John is here, whoever is here, I'm here. Thank you for letting me know what I need to know, trying to protect me. I'm here now, and I'm an adult. I got this. Thank you, thank you, thank you for trying to protect me," and just giving them love. Oftentimes that dissolves that pattern.
That insight, we get to choose our thoughts. That's what hit me the most. But here's the tension. We can choose our thoughts for sure, but we can't rewrite facts. And lately, I've seen just how blurry that line is becoming, even in the most innocent of places. I was speaking to a group of fourth, fifth, and sixth graders. I love doing these talks. Eyes wide open, curiosity off the charts, and I shared my story, passed around my artificial leg, told a few funny moments with my artificial leg, got the kids laughing, showed it to them as I rolled my pants leg up, and they were asking great questions. But the next day, when I asked the principal how it all went, she told me something I didn't expect. She said, John, a lot of the kids thought you were tricking them. I said, tricking them? Even after holding the leg, seeing me walk, watching me jumping on the video, they didn't believe it was real. And that's when it hit me. We're living in a time where reality is up for debate, even when it's in our hands. And that's dangerous, because if we start picking and choosing which facts we want to believe, then leadership turns into performance, not responsibility. Here's the bottom line. If you jump off a 6-story building, gravity will still work, no matter what you believe. If you show up 15 minutes late to the airport, that plane is gone, whether you feel ready or not. As leaders, it's not enough to say, trust your gut. We need to build decisions on evidence and not emotion. And while our thoughts can be powerful, they must be measured against the facts. That's the bridge that Vered is building. Yes, thoughts shape experiences, but if we treat every thought as a fact, we lead from distortion, not discernment. In transitions, especially, your thoughts can convince you. This will never work. They don't respect me. I'm not ready. But without evidence, those are just echoes in the chamber. Leadership requires asking, yeah, is this true or just familiar? Is this helpful or just loud? The danger of believing every thought, you start reacting to ghosts instead of landing in reality. So this week, try this. Write down a strong thought you've had about your team, your role, your future. Then ask, what facts support this? What facts challenge it? Truth may not always feel good, but it's always useful because when we honor evidence over emotion, we don't just make better decisions, we build trust. And trust, my friend, is a fact worth fighting for. So let's land this plane. We've covered a lot today, but every insight comes back to one truth. If you want to elevate, you've got to amputate. You've got to amputate to the belief that you can't do it. You have to regulate your emotions before they lead your decision. And you must stop treating every thought like it's a fact. These aren't just talking points, they're survival skills for leaders navigating pressure, uncertainty, and transformation. They're how we shift from reaction to resilience, from mindset to mindsight. So here's your moment to reflect. What needs to be amputated? What do you need to regulate before you respond? And what thoughts are you ready to question instead of obey? Because that's the real work, not just learning something new, but leading from a new place. And if you want to keep building on this momentum, I would love to invite you to our next Elevate Life session coming up in April. We'll get you those dates very soon here. We'll go deeper with new frameworks, with fresh stories, and real-time dialogue that helps you not just think differently, but live differently. Premium members, keep an eye on your inbox. I'm going to share with you where I will be in April, and we can maybe get on an in-person pop-up or in your hometown. I know I'm going to be over there in Anaheim, California, and if you haven't joined yet, this is your moment. Don't miss out on these incredible opportunities for in-person connections. The WhatsApp group is open, the seats are ready, and your next elevation starts with one choice. So choose it. Until then, keep breathing, keep questioning, and keep leading, because on the other side of fear is your next level. Go forth, inspire your world. We'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.